right? But that's a separate story. So I'm happy to share with you Pesach Halachos. As Rabbi Katz mentioned, you really should start 30 days. When is 30 days before Pesach? On Purim itself, right? On Purim itself, you should start learning Hilachos Pesach. So the fact that we're now here, almost a week and a half, almost 2 weeks before, after Purim, we're in a late start. The reason why I say a late start is not we're in a too late start, but we're in a late start because the amount of halachas and Pesach, I'm still learning at BE and Bakiyas, right, is tremendous. I mean, if you want to pick up a Pesach book, right, get the 5th volume of the Mishnah Berurah. It's entirely about Pesach and the times before, times after, right, the entire volume of the. So we're going to be covering this in the next 55 minutes. You guys are ready? Fasten your seatbelts, right? So obviously not. So we're going to give you a overview on the points to be aware of on Hilachos Pesach. I'm going to leave some time at the end for questions till mincha, till 5 to 4. I'm going to be giving out some of the class materials which I have been using and prepared for you to take afterwards. Some of them have the entire booklets with everything we're going to be discussing. Some only the Seder night. We're not going to be doing the Seder night. I gave a whole class on Seder night and the structure of Seder night a couple of years ago. I think it's on YouTube on the Aish channel, so you can look it up. But it's also here. It's also you have the Torah Shebechsav there, but the Torah Shebal Peh, and it's going to be on YouTube. To give an overview on Hilachos Pesach is for the sake of just being aware of what other things just keep in mind and ask. Right? We're not going to be giving you all the answers to all your situation, and also what is definitely true in this room. Right? There are students here from Foundation, people who just came out of Essentials, and there's students here already. You're learning Gemara B'Yin. It's a base minutes program. There's students here who have been in my class for a whole year cycle. No, don't look away. Don't look away. I've been here, right? Many students already been here, done that, but not necessarily did they cover Hilachos Pesach. So this we're going to be giving over the Ikarim, the main points of Hilachos Pesach, and to be aware of. You can make notes. You can ask questions. If something is not clear, ask right away. Right? If I say chametz, you don't know what is chametz. I won't even explain that. But don't know what is Pesach. Right? Ask. Right? But if my English or my yeshivish is clear, then we'll just continue. Again, I'll leave questions after at the end.
Can we take a booklet for the class?
You don't need a booklet for the class. It's better not, because I'm not following exactly the booklet, but the booklet after can be taken because it can be taken afterwards. So if you're asking about Pesach, they basically have 2 big topics in Hilachos Pesach. It's just like in Hilachos Shabbos, you have the lo saseh, you have the aseh. You have the don't do malacha, right, and make kiddush. Right, so Pesach you have don't deal with chametz, and then Pesach night, and then Pesach night and eating matzah. So we're going to be focusing on the don'ts in Pesach, dealing with the chametz of the prohibitions of Pesach and how to deal with that. So the Pesach night is going to be later on. There's going to be a class on the Seder night. I have outlines on the Seder night. I have a listing of mitzvahs we can fill during the Seder night. Want to know? I got up to how many mitzvahs I got up to the Seder night. I mean, you're going to be getting that, but I got up to 43 mitzvahs on the Seder night. You think it's going to be 1 or 2 or 5, right? There's many mitzvahs during the Seder night, but again, that's not our topic. Our topic is everything except for the Seder night, just to give you an overview. So on the chametz side, on the parts which the Torah speaks about, the don'ts, right, or which really includes the do's, we really find 3 categories of topics. Number 1, in terms of chametz, do not eat chametz, nothing eating chametz, which is a dietary law. Then on the same chametz, it is do not have it around, don't own it, which is special for Pesach, which means you're allowed to own non-kosher food. Don't eat it. Chametz is special that Torah specifically specifies don't own it. And then there is a positive mitzvah to get rid of chametz. And we're going to be speaking about how to get rid of chametz, how the Torah specifies how to get rid of chametz, because that will dictate how to deal with chametz. And the prohibition of not eating chametz, the Torah not only says don't eat chametz, but it includes kol machmetzets, which means it includes, number 1, mixtures of chametz, which you say, well, that's obvious, but it's mixture of chametz to a particular degree. But also, whoever eats chametz, the Torah specifies that the prohibition against eating chametz is more severe than the prohibition of eating other non-kosher food. Other non-kosher food, we can say that's a lav, that's a negative commandment. the prohibition against eating chametz is so severe that the Torah actually says, "Kol ha'ochel chametz v'nichrasa hanefesh ha'im Yisrael," meaning eating chametz on Pesach. A person chas v'shalom eats chametz on Pesach. He knows he willingly eats the kazayas of chametz. It's the same prohibition of doing malacha on Shabbos. Same prohibition of eating on Yom Kippur. Same prohibition of very, very severe prohibitions, which are special for Pesach, which are unlike other dietary laws. So we'll find that the Chazal, because of this severity, the Torah itself speaks about the prohibition against eating chametz, and those who have eaten chametz as being cut off from the Jewish people. That's, we were born on Pesach, right? Person does not recognize and doesn't want to connect himself to the reason why we don't eat chametz is because as we left Egypt, we were not eating chametz. We're putting the bread on our backs, and they didn't rise. And because of that, we don't eat chametz. We should remember our date of birth, our time of birth, right? The Torah puts a very great emphasis on that, and we have to connect to that. And therefore, Chazal, the rabbis were also extremely careful, and the Jewish people following Chazal in that ruach are extremely careful, which means a person makes sure he doesn't eat meat and milk and so on. But the separation between meat and milk is less severe. It's very troublesome, but less severe than the prohibition against eating chametz, as we'll see. So we find that chametz is prohibited. A mixture of chametz is prohibited. But when it speaks about not to own chametz, it speaks about it in two fashions: lo yirai lecha chametz, but lo yimatz lecha chametz. Chametz should not be seen, and chametz should not be found in your houses. Now we're talking about you can't see chametz. What do you mean you can't see chametz? We're talking about lo yirai lecha chametz, but lo yirai lecha seor. You can't see your own chametz, which means your chametz, meaning a chametz which belongs to you, or a Jew which is in your your realm, that you cannot own. Furthermore, chametz will not be found in your house, which means the isser against chametz includes not just eating, but it cannot be found in your houses. You can look at chametz. If you walk past you can now have a picture of a challah on your board. You can walk past a bakery without enjoying the smell of it, right? You're allowed to see chametz of somebody else, of a non-Jew. But in terms of your own chametz, you're not allowed to see it, you're not allowed to have it. Which means we have the focus on make sure you don't come to eat chametz. Number two, the focus on not to own chametz. And this is something some people don't even know. Oh yeah, I know, I don't eat bread, I don't eat cookies. But yeah, I have a bottle of whiskey, which is also chametz, right? It's a grain derivative, we're going to speak about it in a second. I'll keep it around. Just make sure not to eat it, not to drink it, right? No. Chametz is special. The prohibition against eating a grain derivative is prohibited not only in terms of eating, but also in terms of owning it. You're not allowed to have it, you're not allowed to own it. So we're going to specify what can you do or what should you do before Pesach in order not to own it as well, even if you're not eating it. Which means if you own chametz back home, I know this is home, but back home in Miami, back home in New York, and you have there your package of cookies, your bottle of whiskey there, you're not allowed to own it. Well, you don't come to drink it. You're here in Israel, right? No, you're not allowed to own it. You have to disown it. What should you do? We'll see in a second. So you're not allowed to eat chametz. That's one focus. You're not allowed to own chametz. And then the Torah has a special mitzvah of you should tashbisu seor mibatechem. On Erev Pesach, there's a mitzvah to destroy chametz. What do you mean this mitzvah to destroy chametz? There's a machlokus in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda, what should you do to destroy chametz? Should you specifically? Rabbi Yehuda says no. You should specifically burn chametz. Now, how much chametz are we talking about, and what chametz are we talking about? And the Rabbanan says no. You have to make sure that you don't have it around. You can't come to eat it. You can pulverize it in the wind and throw it out the window, where littering is fine, right? Litter is in the beachfront. You can do that, or you can throw it in the sea. Or you can throw it in the river somewhere that is totally inedible or not accessible. That's fine as well. But the way, and this is important to understand, the way how we cover ourselves, not in own chametz. The way the Torah says the Torah doesn't say burn chametz or pulverize the chametz into pieces. It says tashbisu v'yom harishon on Erev Pesach tashbisu seor mibatechem. Now I want to use the word seor, not chametz. Seor is a sourdough. Seor is fermented dough, which is not really edible, but that is also something you're not allowed to own, which means in general we're going to be saying soon that chametz is a food, and a non-food is not chametz, even though it comes from grain. But a seor, something which is a sourdough, or a dough which can ferment, a starter dough, which is also called a dough which can be used to ferment other doughs and can make other doughs rise, that is included in the prohibition. So, but the way the Torah expresses itself in getting rid of chametz is tashbisu. If you look at the word tashbisu, taf, shin, beis, saf, vav, right? It has the root letters Shabbos in it. Oh, we spoke about Shabbos earlier, right? What does Shabbos have to do with chametz? So tashbisu, you shall make Shabbos the chametz. What does it mean? Make Shabbos, make come to rest the chametz. The Ran explains, the Rishonim explained that it says you have to make come to rest chametz in your mind, which means you have to disconnect yourself from chametz on Pesach. That is the act you can get rid of chametz. What do you mean get rid of chametz? Well, I have chametz sitting in front of me. The Torah says do not eat chametz, do not own chametz, but the way you can not own it is by tashbisu, by disconnecting yourself from it. Halachos are shown if that is declaring it hefker, ownerless, or declaring it dust or something without any value, meaning that the Torah wants you not to have any connection with chametz for Pesach, and that is enough not to quote unquote own it. Which means we're not talking about a physical ownership, we're talking about your relationship to the chametz. Now that's therefore a key of what do you have to do before Pesach to get rid of chametz. Because according to the Ran, fine, I'm not going to eat in chametz. I'm not allowed to own it. So what do? Well, you can do tashbisu. You can, in your mind, do what is called in halacha bittul. Bittul is a nullification. And you'll see that in your Haggadah, first page in the Haggadah, second page in the Haggadah, you find that there's a bittul. There's a declaration of declaring the chametz ownerless, declaring the chametz like the dust of the earth, meaning that you consider chametz not valuable. Well, chametz is very tasty. We eat chametz until Erev Pesach night, Leila Seder is going to be Wednesday night. So Wednesday morning you can still have breakfast with pizza and cookies and whatever, that's fine. It's about 10 o'clock, right? And therefore, what does the Torah want you to do? They want you to disconnect for 7 days. 7.5 days, correct. 7.5 days. It's from Erev Pesach, throughout Pesach, or, you guys keep 2 days. The we is not me included, but we keep 2 days, so it's 8 days. So it's 8.5 days. We should disconnect ourselves from chametz, even though it's good, even though it's tasty, but for 7 days, for 8 days, for 8.5 days, we disconnect ourselves from chametz in our mind. Now here, the rabbi said, therefore, okay, fine. You're not allowed to eat chametz, you're not allowed to own chametz, and the way you can disconnect yourself from owning chametz is enough to make this declaration. Do you have to destroy chametz? Actually, destroy chametz. The Torah doesn't say destroy chametz, the Torah says tashbisu. So, obviously, you can disconnect yourself from chametz by destroying it. If you burn it, it's gone, it's finished. No connection with the chametz, it's inedible. It is now, by the way, how much do you have to destroy? Only a kazais. Do you know how much a kazais is? An olive, right? That's the little translation. How much is in our modern terms? It's a half an egg. It's about like the Israeli matchbox. That much, 4 fingers, whatever, approximately. Not bad. That much you have. That's your mitzvah. If you want to makayim, if you want to fulfill the mitzvah of destroying chametz before Pesach, so destroy that. Now, what if you have a lot of cookies left, and you have a whole, you have a lot of chametz left. You have a whole, package of pizza left. You have a half challah left. So you only have to do the mitzvah, according to Rabbi Yehuda, of burning chametz of only a kazai. So what do you do with the rest? Well, you have to disown it. You're not to have it. So you can just throw it out. Where do you throw it out? You just take your kitchen garbage can and throw it out there. Well, it's still on your property. So you can someone walk in and take it. It's still not hefker. So when we say you have to throw it out in a public garbage bin, which is fine. It's not yours. That's one way. So therefore, you make sure that before Pesach, and we're going to be defining what is chametz, that you're going to be either destroying, but you only have to destroy a kazais. You don't have to throw away the whole package of cookies in the fire or in wherever it's going to be burnt. You don't have to pulverize it all. The only thing you have to do to makayim the mitzvah of tashbisu is, in terms of if there's destroying it, is at least the kazais. And by the way, that's something what people also make sure that they leave over a piece of chametz so they can destroy that to fulfill that mitzvah. Meaning, if the person ate up all the chametz, even though he's not eating chametz anymore on Pesach, and even though he's not owning any chametz, he has not left over a little bit of chametz to destroy. So it's a mitzvah to destroy that, to have some chametz left over to destroy. So you can either destroy it by burning it, and again, that only is enough a kazayis. You can throw out whatever else is extra. You don't have to destroy it. Walk it in a garbage can. Now you can also not own it by what? By selling chametz. If you sell your chametz, obviously if you're a store owner and you're selling chametz during Pesach, the chametz you sold is not yours. What if you're a private individual? You have lots of chametz left. What do you do then? Well, we said you can throw it. You can destroy it. I don't want to destroy my bottles of whiskeys or my, lots of cookies or whatever I have left over. The expiration date is month past Pesach, right? Same time, I don't want to own it. So I don't want to destroy it. I don't want to, meaning burn it. I don't want to throw it out either. So what do I do then? So you can sell it. Now, the problem is, where are you going to find somebody to buy it from you? It has to be a non-Jew. You cannot sell it to another Jew. You're not allowed to even own or have in your possession chametz, which belongs to another Jew. If your roommate leaves and says, I have this bottle of whiskey, hold on to it well for me over Pesach. I'm going back for Pesach, I'm coming back after Pesach. Make sure you hold on to it well. Say, no. Jewish chametz can't be in your possession. So you have to make sure that you don't own chametz. You want to sell it. Now, how are you going to find a non-Jew to sell? So the communities have, the source for being able to sell chametz. In the olden days, people just ate up whatever chametz they have nothing. The sale of chametz it really is a modern invention, the fact that everybody is involved in the selling of chametz. So, but the sale of chametz works is that you don't want to own your chametz, but you have lots of chametz left. So the chametz which you like to not to own and you like to sell, so how do you sell it? Well, there are very strict guidelines how to properly sell something. If I put my box of cookies in front of a non-Jew, here it's yours. Is it now his? Still mine until he takes it. Can it be still be in my kitchen, in my storage area? Is it still then mine? So there are very, very strict rules of how to change ownership, how to make a kinyan in halacha. The rabbis of the community did not want to leave the method of selling chametz to each one of the individual, and the rabbi of the town says, you know what? I'm going to help all the townsmen, all the people to sell your chametz for you. Give me an authorization to sell your chametz for you, and I will sell it to the non-Jew. Which means what we do is that every family, basically they sign a authorization document, either with an actual piece of paper where he specifies, listen, I have all these chametz left, and some documents actually require you just to specify what are you selling, how much you're selling. Some even ask, what's the value of how much you're selling? You put that on a piece of paper, you give it to the rabbi. Rabbi, please sell the chametz for me. You don't sell the chametz to the rabbi. He has enough chametz on his own, right? You're giving him the authority to sell chametz for you. It's like if you have any item, right? This pen belongs to me. I can give it to you to write with. I can also ask you to sell it for me. It's not yours. You cannot use it, right? So I'm giving the chametz to the rabbi, or allowing the rabbi to sell it for me, to sell it for me. The rabbi sits with the non-Jew to buy the chametz. Now, if they have a whole community, how does he sell his chametz to this non-Jew, right? So he has all these authorization documents. Let's say there's 1,000 people, there's 500 people in his community, right? So they have all given him, whether actual piece of paper which they wrote, or they actually emailed him, or they signed a online document, right? My chametz is sold. So he sits with the non-Jew. He says, Mr. Non-Jew, right? John Smith, would you like to buy the chametz of the Jewish people for 7.5 days or for you? He says, I have no problem. He said, okay, fine. It's valued at $100,000. Give me $100,000. It's all yours, right? He says, well, I don't have that much money yet. Can I make a down payment? He says, sure, make a down payment. The non-Jew gives to the rabbi $100 as a down payment. The entire chametz is now being sold with a star, with a sales document. Hereby, Mr. Non-Jew is buying the chametz which the rabbi was authorized to sell on the congregation's behalf from the non-Jews, and he's buying all the chametz and the suffix chametz, and everything belongs now to him, and he made a down payment. And there are all kinds of kinyanim being done, handshake, down payment, all kinds of actions being done. The non-Jew, starting from Erev Pesach around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning, bought up all the chametz. So during 7 days of Pesach, during 8 days of Pesach, the chametz which is in the Jewish houses does not belong to them anymore. They do not transgress the prohibition of lo yirai lecha chametz, lo yimatz lecha chametz in their houses because it's being sold. Now, what happens after Pesach? Well, the non-Jew generally, best would be that the non-Jew picks up the chametz and takes it into his own house, in his own garage or whatever. But that's obviously impractical. So then you can leave the chametz in your house, which you sold to the non-Jew. By the way, the areas in which the chametz is placed is also really rented out to him, because otherwise that's your house which contains chametz. It's a whole sugya. Comes after Pesach. The rabbi calls back to non-Jew. Hi, Mr. Non-Jew. You owe me $100,000 minus $100 a down payment. Would you like to go through with the purchase? Or no, not go through it. Would you like to finish off the payment? He says, I guess not. I don't want to go through the purchase. Yes, the rabbi says, no problem. I'll buy it back from you. Here's $150. Non-Jew says, no problem. Good deal. Which means that during Pesach, he bought the entire chametz which was sold to him by the rabbi with a down payment. After Pesach, he buys it, he sells it back to the rabbi on behalf of the people, and now all the chametz is going back to the ownership of all the Jews, which means that during Pesach, the Jews who sold their chametz through the rabbi do not own chametz, do not transgress the prohibition of owning chametz. Yeah.
Is this essentially what is done here in
every Jewish community will have a way to, as a method to sell the chametz through the Beis Din, through the rabbi, through the congregant. Here in the yeshiva can go to Rav Gil. Yes, this is done by everybody. Now, this is only really needed when you have chametz left to sell. However, everybody joins into the sale of chametz, because even if you're not sure, if you thought, well, I don't have any cookies, I ate up all my pitot, whatever chametz I have left, I threw out, I don't really need to sell any chametz. Still, you join in just in case you have any chametz. Some consider the chametz which is owned in a company you have an ownership in because of your investments is also considered yours, and therefore you have to sell that as well. And therefore that's also included in the sale. And therefore, whatever chametz it belongs to is sold through the way. And therefore, everybody joins in the sale of chametz. Which therefore, you should make sure go to Rav Gil, sign on the document. I'm including the chametz, the sale of chametz. Yeah, very quick.
So the non-Jew that talks back to the rabbi and says, "Hey," the rabbi says, "Hey, do you want to proceed your transaction?" He says, "How is he allowed to say that? Doesn't he have to? Didn't he agree that this transaction is going to take place no matter what?"
No. If the non-Jew, either during Pesach, let's say he put a down payment of $100. Now, in one of the documents, he says there's a whole stack of very expensive whiskeys in one of the Jewish houses, right? He says, "Oh, I'd like to actually get that. It's mine. I'd like to take it." He can go there, knock on the door, and says, "I want to take it." He says, "Sure, it's yours," right? Now he has to finish the payment, right? If it's worth $500, he has to pay for it, right? It's his. Meaning he only made a down payment on the entire entire value of all the chametz. After Pesach, he can decide, "Oh, I'll finish up the $100,000 because it's been sold." Or what happens in most cases that he buys it back. Maybe the rabbi buys it back from the non-Jew. So the rabbis though did not suffice with the sale of chametz just by itself. It's true. You promised not to own chametz, and you sold all your chametz which is left. However, if you leave the chametz in the same location where it is, what's gonna happen? What potentially may happen? You're gonna forget and drink from the beer, drink from the whiskey, eat the cookies anyway, which were sold. It's not yours. Remember, there were two prohibitions: don't eat chametz and don't own chametz. True, in terms of owning, I've taken care of it with the sale. But if you don't do something with it, if you don't put it away, you're going to accidentally come to eat from. So therefore, whatever chametz you have in front of you, which you sold, you should put away. You must put away. You must lock up. You take a box, put all the chametz there, put it in your garage, put it in your attic, put it somewhere away that it's not in your eyes. Which means a Jew is not allowed to be around chametz where he accidentally come to eat from it. So that is the prohibition against eating chametz. Owning chametz, eating chametz, and what you have to put away. There is a custom of not selling chametz be'ein, meaning actual cookies and whiskey, because we're afraid of, even if you put it away, what if the sale does not go through? what if some reason, some reason it was not sold, then you're only chametz. So what we do is, in addition to getting rid of the chametz which we look at, in addition to destroying some of it, in addition to throwing it out, in addition to selling, we also declare right before Pesach, in the night after the Bedika, we'll get into that right now, we also make a declaration that whatever chametz is not sold, whatever chametz is still belong to me, I'm declaring it owners. I'm disconnecting myself from chametz on Pesach, which is another safety net. Yeah.
If you have like an office space or like a second place of residence, you have to sell the chametz for that.
Absolutely, it's yours.
Even if you're not sleeping there.
Absolutely, because it's yours. Yes, you're owning chametz. You know, it's own chametz. If you don't come to eat from it, you therefore include it in your sale. Then you can include it in your sale here. The Arabs which buy the chametz from the Jews, they love to have some chametz in Miami or in New York or whatever. Don't worry, it's all included. Yes, actually, yes. You always include whatever chametz, wherever it is. Correct.
If you sell it, is it enough to just tape, like let's say you have like a pantry, can you just tape it closed, or you have
If
to
it-
actually move it from the location?
Well, it has to be taped in a way it's like locked.
locked, yeah.
It's like locked, correct.
But
Correct.
that's fine, you don't have to actually move it from a...
If it's actually locked, yeah.
But it can't actually be locked though, because then the buyer couldn't get it, right? Or
Correct. Meaning he's allowed to come to it. You come up
Yeah.
and get it. Okay. So we therefore, that's how we deal with the chametz that we don't eat chametz. We don't come to own chametz. Now the question is, okay, I can't eat chametz. What chametz can't I not eat? Because I want to make sure that I don't eat chametz, and I have to get rid of chametz. What is the chametz I'm not allowed to eat, and what's the chametz I'm not allowed to own? And this goes into the question of what chametz I have to deal with in terms of before Pesach, because the rabbi said they made a mitzvah derabbanan of bedikas chametz. What's bedikas chametz? Searching for chametz. It's a mitzvah derabbanan to search for chametz, so that we are aware of where is all the chametz which we own, which we possibly sold, but we don't come to accidentally eat from it. And since even if you eat chametz which was sold, let's say the package of cookies was locked up and the cabinet opened up and it went into your counter, right, countertop, obviously you're not allowed to eat chametz. So you have to make sure that you are aware where are the chametz is and get rid of it. This is called bedikas chametz, meaning checking for the chametz to get rid of it, either to set aside to be sold or to make sure that even if you don't sell it, if you have crumbs of chametz all over, you can't eat any crumbs of chametz. You have to get rid of it. On what items must you get rid of it? Actually, physically get rid of it. So this is the laws of bedikas chametz. So number one, it's talking about chametz. Chametz is something edible. Something food, something you would eat. So we have a whole bunch of categories of edible chametz, and you'll have it on page 8 in the booklet if you would like to take a booklet. That chametz, which you consider food, which is either edible chametz, a large amount or a small amount, even a crumb of chametz, which means you have to get rid of even the crumb of chametz in your cabinet where you keep your cookies, which means if in the question of what do I have to clean? I mean, I'm not selling the crumbs to the non-Jew. He's not buying crumbs, even though theoretically or practically or legally it is included in the sale, right? But I don't want to eat even the crumbs, and therefore the type of bedika, the type of checking for chametz and don't come to eat from it, and that's the worry, has to be a type of cleaning to make sure that there's no edible chametz which could make its way into your food. So that's the chametz, big piece of chametz which you may come to eat, or the crumbs of chametz. Now this also includes chametz mixtures, which means any food. If you have a soup mix, well, a soup mix may not be majority of a grain derivative. However, if it has flour mixed into it and you start to cook with it, obviously it becomes chametz. So therefore, first of all, check is house for any food item which is not kosher Pesach or is not certified kosher Pesach. So nowadays it became a little easier because of the people's sensitivity to food allergies. Gluten is an indication that there is chametz there. If you have a non-grain food or a mixture which says gluten-free, that's a good indicator. It's not for sure, but it's an indicator that it does not contain any grain derivative, and therefore it may be used for Pesach. Now, I'm not saying that anything which does not have gluten is kosher Pesach, but it is an indicator. If you have a ketchup which which is gluten free. It could be that it's kosher Pesach. Again, where we only take food which is kosher Pesach, which is certified kosher Pesach, because the percentage of gluten free by law can be bigger than the halachic percentage which is allowed to be in there. We go by less than 1/60th, right? It could be the law which is 1.8%. By law, it could be that the percentage for it to say that it has gluten, it could be 2%, and therefore you cannot rely on that. But therefore, a person has to search or has to make sure that any food item he has around is definitely chametz free or definitely gluten free. Is definitely, it does not have any derivatives of the 5 grains. Non-food items, but you eat. For example, medicine. Does medicine have to be kosher Pesach? Well, medicine is something you do eat. So we differentiate between 2 types of medicine. Medicine which is edible medicine, which is good tasting medicine, which is like a food, meaning throat lozenges or cough syrup, which really tastes good, children's medicine. That's considered like food. If it's considered like food, must have a kosher Pesach kasher. Versus medicine which is not edible, you just consume it, you just take it. Since it's not a food, doesn't have to be kosher Pesach. Still though, people don't like the idea of having taking a medicine, even though it tastes bad, if it has a grain or a flour base to it, and therefore it may be considered chametz. It still is not halachic chametz. Why it's not a food. Still, people don't use it unless they really need to use it, meaning they have an illness which they need to use it. So you'll have all kinds of lists of medical list with medications which contain chametz, which cannot contain chametz. But if it's a type of medicine which is not edible and you need it, you can use it on Pesach. You're allowed to own it, and you're allowed to use it on Pesach because it's not really food. If it's not food, it's not chametz. Yeah.
So the supplements apply to that?
It would be the same if you're dealing with food supplements or vitamins. It would have the same halacha. That is correct. Often it is not the same necessity to really use it. So what you can do is you could just put it away. Don't use it for Pesach. Include it in your sale. No big deal. You don't really have to lock it up because probably it's not really a big deal, right? But you would still put it aside. Don't use it and include.
Eat it, right?
What?
You're not allowed to.
I'm not saying you're not allowed to. You should not eat it unless you really need it. Unless you're really ill, you really need it, and it has yeah. That's basically it. Now, with regards to store is not really a. I mean, if you're dealing with chametz in the laws of the dietary laws, not only are we dealing with the food itself, a crumb itself, but also the taste of a food is also included. You know, we have milchig dishes with fleshig dishes. We have meaty pots and milchig pots. You have to have the same thing for Pesach. Obviously, you have to need the same thing for Pesach. Are you allowed to own a during the year chametz pot for Pesach? Is that considered owning chametz? Now, obviously, to make use of this pot, you're not allowed to, because you're pulling out the taste of chametz from this pot. Are you allowed to own it? Are you allowed to have that around? So with regards to the ownership of chametz, is not included. So you definitely do not have to include it in the sale, and don't include your chametz pot in the sales. Why? Because otherwise you're running into another halachic problem, and that is, if you buy a pot from a non-Jew, you have to total it afterwards. So therefore, we do not sell our chametz pots for Pesach. Right? And we don't even sell the blias, the absorbed chametz in it. It's not really sellable. Hey, Mr. John Smith, would you like to buy the absorbed chametz in my pot, please? He says, no, that's not sellable, right? It's not necessary. Don't use it. And most of the time, don't use it. By the way, as a differentiation between during the year and during Pesach, and that is if you by mistake used and this is a whole different topic, but the dietary laws with regards to meat and milk, but by mistake you used a milchig pot for meat or vice versa, the food is kosher if it wasn't used for 24 hours. For Pesach, we do not say that. If a person by mistake took a during the year pot which he used for soup and noodles and used it for Pesach, the pot and the noodles are not allowed to be used. With regards to other items which may contain chametz, if you have a cleaning detergent or something that may contain or does contain a chametz ingredient, doesn't have to be sold, doesn't have to be, you're allowed to use it. There is a custom of not using shampoo or hand creams which you smear on your body if it has a grain element in it. That's a chumrah. Some say if you don't have to worry about it, you're allowed to own it. With regards to other items like mouthwash, like toothpaste, mikrodin, it's not a food, and therefore you're allowed to use it for Pesach, and you're allowed to even brush your teeth with it, even if it contains a grain thing, because it's not food, and you're not eating it. The custom is to buy kosher Pesach toothpaste because you put it in your mouth. However, you don't have to throw away or put away the toothpaste which you have during the year. Just buy an extra toothpaste which says kosher Pesach. Use that for the 8 days, and afterwards just finish up using whatever you have. Yeah.
Are you allowed to own like any like kind of dog food or animal food? Because you could own like grains or.
Excellent question. If it is food or if it's edible even for a human being, right? And animal food is probably edible for a human being. If it contains grain in it, if it contains chametz in it, you're not allowed to own it. You're not allowed to not only not eat chametz, you're not allowed to derive benefit from chametz, and therefore you have to sell or make sure that your dog food or your animal food also does not include chametz, and therefore it's definitely a problem. And therefore, yes, you have to serve kosher Pesach dog food to your dog. Otherwise, you're owning chametz and you're deriving benefit from it, even though you don't. A, you're owning it, obviously. And B, you're deriving benefit from it because you don't have to give them other food. Yes, that is definitely an issue. Yeah.
What about animal medicine?
What about animal medicine? It's not worse than human medicine. Now, in terms of food, there's another category of food which Ashkenazi Jews don't eat, and that is kidneys.
Oy.
Right? Legumes, something a legume derivative. The definition of kidneys is not clear in halacha. It's not clear in the custom. What is included in kidneys? Look it up. But basically, it's rice, beans, or beans, or it's oils we avoid on Pesach, which means most Ashkenazi Jew and some Sephardi Jews do not use rice on Pesach. Do not use peanuts on Pesach, even though that's the whole question. But Pesach, bamba, a week without bamba. Sorry. You got to deal with that without bamba for a week, but definitely bisli. Definitely, that's a snack which is made from chametz. But many derivatives. Now, for this you have to be very, very careful because Sephardi Jews do eat kidneys. So you'll find the bamba, right? I never know what bamba is, right? It's a snack. It says kosher lePesach le'ochle kidneys, to those who are accustomed to eat kidneys. Make sure that if you're a Ashkenazi Jew, that you don't eat it, that you're allowed to own it, but you're not allowed to eat it during Pesach. Which means make sure that when you go shopping for Pesach, you're buying all kinds of food items or ketchups or whatever, all kinds of condiments for food. Make sure it says lelo kidneys, without kidneys. Because otherwise if you buy it, it's fine. Do not use it on Pesach, yeah.
So does that mean if you went to someone's house who was Sephardi, you shouldn't have kidneys in their house?
Correct. And he should know not to serve your kid. Now, if he has a pot which he cooked in kidneys, you're allowed to eat from that same pot, as long as it doesn't have the kidneys in it. Even if a little bit of it wasn't perfectly clean. The custom of not eating kidneys is not eating actual kidneys, but in terms of that's not a problem. But yes, but in the Sephardi home, in Ashkenazi, has to be careful. Correct.
Two questions. One was in terms of the toothpaste, the toothbrush that you use during the year, you would also need to get a new toothbrush.
Do you?
Well, because if toothpaste isn't chametz, you also wouldn't be eating anything, but there could be chametz in the toothbrush.
If it's not in the toothpaste, how can it get into the toothbrush?
If it's like in your teeth when you're brushing during the year.
The problem with the toothbrush would only be if there are crumbs left over in the toothbrush, right? Meaning what?
Microcrumbs that you can't see with the naked eye.
No, if it's micro crumbs, then that's not food. That's nothing, right? We're talking about actual crumbs, which means la halacha, if you wash out your toothbrush, it's fine. The custom is to buy a new toothbrush. Anyway, you have to buy a new toothbrush every once in a while. So buy one, start of a new one for Pesach. But that's only because there's a crumb in there, but not because of the toothpaste. Correct. Correct.
And then, the second question is, let's say you have a bottle of wine, let's say an extra bottle of wine for term that you want to save for Pesach. should you buy a new one that like hasn't? It's not that it's been like around chametz, but it could have been in contact with chametz. Like,
So we are definitely are careful. If you have an open bottle of wine, which you know that was only open and only poured out of, and nothing came in, it's really kosher at Pesach. People don't like the idea of having a bottle of wine which was open during a Friday night meal. Something may have fell into it and use it for Pesach. People generally put it away and use it after Pesach. But theoretically, if you know that nothing got in there, generally, or all wines are generally kosher Pesach, grape juice, you're allowed to continue using them, even if you use them the week before, you're allowed to use them for Pesach as well. Again, generally people avoid it because it's easy to avoid. But la halacha, if you know that if the bottle was open bottle of kosher Pesach wine, which is here during the year, it can be used on Pesach as well. Okay, a little bit more on the search, the mitzvah of searching for chametz. On the night of Pesach, which means Pesach night is on Wednesday night, is Seder night. The night before, on Tuesday night, meaning 24 hours before Pesach night, is the mitzvah of bedikas chametz. That's a mitzvah, that's a time when the rabbi said, go around and check your home that there's no chametz left. Now, we make sure that we don't have any chametz left. However, the night before Pesach, there's a mitzvah to check. There's a mitzvah. It means we clean our houses, and we don't even wait until the night before Pesach. Obviously, the housewives and the yeshiva kitchen and everybody at home, they clean long before Pesach. People start cleaning, and they say, well, this bedroom is chametz free, and this bedroom is chametz free, and the kitchen is the last thing which is left over. Still, on the night before Pesach, we make sure that our houses are chametz free, or the chametz which we're still eating Wednesday morning or Tuesday night after the bedika, you're still allowed to eat chametz, but at least you localize where it is. So there's a mitzvah on the Tuesday night. What date does it fall? I have it here on the sheets. You have it also on your sheet. It is the Tuesday night before Pesach. Pesach is Erev Pesach, when it's Wednesday, April 1st, which means the night before Pesach, which means Tuesday night, the 31st of March, starting here in Israel at 7 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, we have a mitzvah of Orla Basar, first mission in Pesachim. Everybody knows we have a mitzvah of bedikas chametz, which is right, Rambo, search to destroy. Right, we search our chametz right in order to destroy it the next day. Right, the burning of chametz is done the next day around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And that's when we destroy the piece of chametz. So this is actually a mitzvah d'Rabbanan. You say a bracha over it. A share kiddushanim itself. It's an al biur chametz. The nusach of the bracha is search in order to destroy. And therefore the mitzvah, the bracha is al biur chametz, on the destruction of chametz. And then you search. Now, it's a mitzvah to search. If you already cleaned your house and you know where all your chametz is, you don't have to find necessarily. There's a custom in many homes is to make sure that you search well. So the housewife, she puts aside a couple of pieces of bread. She puts it around the house so that the husband goes and searches well. He finds all of them. Now, it's a little bit of a dangerous custom. Why? Because, I just cleaned my house. He's putting aside a lot of pieces of chametz, right? So what is done is, the pieces are less than the kazais, meaning tiny pieces, wrapped in a plastic bag. She makes a list of where she puts them in case she forgets where she put them, right? And the custom is to do 10. Because if some year you do 5, some do 6, some do 10, you get confused, you don't know. So she puts aside and turns off the lights, right? She does not burn out the light. You can leave the light on during bedikas chametz. You don't have to turn out the light with the candle. Thank you. You take a flashlight. Right, nowadays with a candle, it's kind of dangerous to go underneath to go search very well. By the way, the reason why you need a flashlight is, well, can't you just see it? Well, you have to find even a crumb which is in a corner of a cabinet. Therefore, you need to have something which actually shines bright, but it shouldn't shine that bright. Which means if you take your phone or you take a very halogen light, something which is very very bright, it actually blends away anything which is there. So make sure it's not that bright. you make a bracha, Shirkin Shalom itself, it's Sivan, I'll be your chametz, and you start to look around, you check for the chametz, which means you make sure that all the chametz you have located so that you can actually burn it the next day. Now, what if you leave earlier? What if the person goes away? When do you do it? You do it the night before you go, which means if you're leaving this week or next week to America, if you have a flight, is there a flight out? Maybe yes, maybe not, but if you're planning to leave, you should do it the night before you go. What if you did not do it, or you can ask someone else to do it for you, and you appoint a person, a shaliach, to do your bedikas chametz for you. But when you get home, in your home where you arrive in your location, whether it's your home or a hotel, whatever, still the night before, that same night, you say that's the only time you make a bracha. By the way, if you do it at any other time before March 31st, right before the 14th, the night of the 14th, you do it. You don't say a bracha. I don't want to go through the entire halachic process of kashering, but the general rule in terms of making sure that you don't eat the not only chametz itself but also the taste of chametz. So if you keep your kitchen around, right, and your countertop and your pots and pans, so generally people have separate pots and pans for Pesach. Why? Because we said that if you have a chametz pot, a pot which was used for chametz during the year, you're not allowed to use it for Pesach. So you can purge the taste out. That's called the process of kashering. It's a hard process, it's difficult to do, and today with our affluent societies, we have separate pots and pans for Pesach. But not everything you can have separate pots and pans for Pesach. You can't have a separate kitchen. I mean, some people do have a separate kitchen for Pesach. They actually do, right? But otherwise, so therefore, if your person has to kasher, if a person wants to make use of items which were used with food during the year, and use that same items again on Pesach, the taste of the chametz have to be purged out, has to be kasher. That's only if the taste actually got in there. Meaning you don't have to kasher something that the taste of chametz never got in there. But if you have pots and pans which you like to kasher for Pesach, you have to follow the rules of kashering. Now, your fridge, why should you kasher your fridge? Well, the fridge, there's no taste of chametz in there. You don't have to kasher. So you can just clean, but it has to be proper cleaning. Which means not just proper cleaning, you have to basically take everything out of your fridge, take all the shelves apart, take the shelves out, take out whatever parts the shelves are connected to, because there's a lot of dirt. Soak it in water, make sure it's clean, because you're not allowed to own a crumb of edible chametz. And number two, you don't want it to get into your food of Pesach stuff you put in there, even though there's no kashering done there. But any item which you use for cold, make sure it's perfectly clean. And when you clean, you should use a detergent to clean with, because in case there's something left there, stuck there, right, that whatever food is left there became inedible. The moment it's inedible, it's not chametz anymore, and you have dealt with the problem. But we clean very well those items which you use with food. Yeah.
You put your chametz in one drawer of the fridge and tape it shut?
I mean, you talk about chametz which needs to be in the fridge. Well, it has to be locked up. It has to be taped up, which means we're talking about if you leave it on your shelf in the fridge, that's dangerous. It's a danger there. But if it's actually, if you take a whole section and you tape it all up, you say chametz this, and you have it sold, yes, you can theoretically. So people don't do it. But for things which are in the freezer, right? You have something which you're frozen, which is chametz is sold to a non-Jew. Yes, you can do that. Remember, it's sold. Make sure it's going to be sold. The process of hagala, the process of actually the kashering process. I don't want to go through, but there are 4 processes. It's either burning out, it's either going through boiling it out in hot water, or boiling hot water over. Let's say you have a stainless steel countertop. You don't have a special one for Pesach. You can either cover it with something that does not allow whatever taste got in there to be pulled out, or if it's kosher bowl material, which is either pure stone or stainless steel, you can pour boiling hot water over it in order to take out the taste, and then it's kosher Pesach. Generally, tabletops people don't eat from the regular tabletops on Pesach, which they use during the year. They just cover it. They have a special cover for Pesach. Which is, it doesn't have to be a special cover base. It has to be water. It has to be waterproof.
Like aluminium foil works?
What?
Aluminium foil works?
Yes, but it has to be a thick one, because a thin one it tears very fast. Correct. Okay, we have another few minutes. I'll mention a few more things. I'll take questions. We have another 5 minutes for. Hilachos Pesach not only includes, and again, we have not covered the Seder whatsoever. We discussed with regards to Pesach foods and chametz and the cleaning for Pesach and the sale of chametz. But Hilachos Pesach includes the laws of not just Yontif, which is the days where the first 2 days of Pesach and the last 2 days but also intermediate days, intermediate days of Pesach are also prohibited in Malacha unless it's really needed for Pesach. Which means we do not wash our clothing, we do not take a haircut, and that gets into the Shiur Somer as well. But during the intermediate days of Pesach, which means in the non-Yontif days, a person has to know what is allowed, what's not allowed. Again, generally, if it's talking about driving, it's talking about phoning, it's talking about writing, if it's necessary for the holiday, it's fine. But if you're talking about building, or if it's talking about painting, or certain kind of things which have nothing to do with a holiday, is prohibited. Which means it is a time where we really focus on the holiday. Starting on the second night of Pesach, not to forget, we start Shiur Somer, we start counting, right? Pesach night we left. 7 weeks later is what holiday? Shavuos, right? We have to start counting, which is a mitzvah to count. Nowadays, it's a mitzvah d'Rabbanan. Right, and we count every night. But not only we have a mitzvah counting at Mariv time with the bracha, and we should not lose a day. We also have the custom of the first 5 weeks of the Shiur Somer, of the mourning period, which means people don't get married. We don't listen to live music from after Pesach until what time? Lag BaOmer. That's the general. So we should be aware of that. Questions? We have another few minutes. Questions.
Can you play live music if it's practice or if you're doing it for like?
By the way, you should check it. Meaning, if it's not for pleasure and it's just for the sake of keeping up your skill base, right? There's definitely room to be lenient. But again, that to yourself and for yourself, not for the sake of really enjoying yourself and playing music.
What about like a band?
Bigger question. Ask.
One, is the festive kashrut like more? It'd be more machmir with that on Pesach. Like if you're going to somebody's house to eat, there's a festive kashrut for Shabbos, but for Pesach it's more machmir.
Meaning you have to make sure. Well, again, you have to make sure that you can never make sure. You cannot make sure. But yes, you definitely like to only eat at a place of people who know what they're doing, who know what is Pesach and know what they're doing, as opposed to approximate. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just curious. Can one sell chametz gamor? Like, is that like done?
So
someone has like a big supply of.
So the general is if it's a big deal for you, which means if it makes a big difference to you, the way they sell it, if it's a considerable loss, if it cannot be sold, answer is yes, right? So yes, you can sell chametz gamor. Again, the custom is not to unless you cannot avoid it.
Okay. What about things like stocks? If you have a stock in a company that supplements, what do you do?
It's a question whether that needs to be sold if you really have, because if depends how much stock you have. If you have one stock and you don't have any voter rights, and then it doesn't really make a difference. People generally include it in their sale or in their authorization document that in case it's necessary, it's included. If it works, yeah.
2 things. One, you said live music specifically. So people who don't listen to recorded music, is that a chumrah?
Nowadays
okay.
we do include it, but really it is not part of the original custom, because the original custom obviously there was nothing else but live music. Right. But again, the whole point is we should not forget the whole point of this custom. It should be remember in the morning.
Okay. And then sorry, when you say Tishivisu, you say like connected to Shabbos, Tashbisu.
Yes.
To Shabbos, and then when the Ron says it's like you're removing it from your mind, could you say from that like you shouldn't be thinking about chametz as well on Pesach, like waiting for that slice of pizza the whole time and stuff like that? Is that included in the assay?
Well, it's not included in the technical assay, but yes, we should want to be 7 days chametz free. Right. That's the idea. 1 week chametz free. We're back to basics. Unleavened bread. Yes. One more question because it's a ashrei time. Yes.
You mentioned before that it's like a custom to put the pieces of bread around the house, but don't you make a bracha before you connect to the chametz? So what happens if you don't find any chametz? Would that be a bad bracha retroactively? that you
No,
made for
no, it would not, because the bracha is on the searching to find. If you did not find, you still search to find. Exactly. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Pesach. Again, I have here booklet if somebody wants.